Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Good morning. This is the Frank Skinner Show on Absolute Radio. I'm Emily Dean, and I'm standing in for Frank this week because he's gone on holiday. He's gone on a lads' away day with Pete Doherty and Macaulay Culkin. That was what I last heard, so I don't know what could possibly go wrong there. We love you and we miss you, Frank. You can text us as usual on 81215. Well, you could personally, Frank, or our readers could. Or you can tweet us at Frank on the Radio. I'm joined today by the legendary Cochrane, Mr. Alun Cochrane, in the house.
My tummy just rumbled. I don't know if you heard that.
I did hear it, and I didn't want to say anything.
It seems to happen at the start of every show, but most of the time nobody notices. But today I've outed it.
As someone working in the international fashion industry, I want to congratulate you on that rumble.
Thanks very much.
Sound of hunger.
Yeah, I suppose you hear a lot of that in the fashion business.
It's kind of my theme tune. We also have the rather wonderful Mr. Steve Hall. Hall in the house.
Hall in the house.
Nice.
That's an awful 1970s sitcom that I'll one day make a time machine and create.
We've already actually heard from the outside world, but they didn't know that you were on, Steve, at this point. But we've had a text. Hi, the Cockrell and Miss Dean. Knowing he's a friend of the show, I just wondered if you'd seen the pictures of the former BFM after he lost 46 stone. His achievement is very impressive, but he now looks like an elephant crossed with a flying squirrel.
This is Britain's fattest man.
And that's from Dandyman, who's a regular texter, and says, P.S. Good luck with the show. I'm sure you'll be fantastic. All the regulars are with you. I'm sure that's for you, Emily
Oh,
D.
thank you, Dandyman. I remember, somewhat controversially, you're a fan of the Beano.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a lovely way to compliment Britain's fattest man and then snatch that compliment back. His achievement is very impressive, but he now looks like an elephant crossed with a flying squirrel.
It is, but he has done it, and so, good luck to him. He is a friend of the show of sorts.
Well, I'm glad we've kicked off with BFM, but it's lovely to have you both here. It's lovely to... Steve, you're not even a friend of the show, you're more civil partnership status now.
Excellent. It's finally legal.
I have to say, I'm very excited to be doing this today, although I feel a bit like, when Eamon Holmes takes over from Pippi Schofield?
Yes.
Like on what is it they do this morning or Daybreak? I feel a bit like that. But a friend, people often give you advice, and people were saying, "Oh, are you nervous?" I said, "No, it's great. I'm looking forward to it." And one friend said, "Oh yeah, I think it will be great." He said, "It's like when DJ Spoonie stood in for John Peel." He said, "Oh yeah." He said, "Look at him now." I said, "Well, I'm trying to look at him now, but no one knows where he is." So, I'm going to have slightly higher aspirations. But I think before we need to do anything, I think we need to talk about Alex, don't we?
Sir Alex?
Yeah.
Sir Alex. Saf.
Because people...
Saf, yeah.
Saf on Twitter,
is that his nickname?
Well, it's his acronym, I suppose, isn't it?
But it does make him sound like he's on sort of Made in Chelsea.
People always get sacked when Frank's off. Which doesn't bode well, because, not sacked. The Pope wasn't sacked. Can I say now he wasn't sacked? He chose to walk.
They move aside.
Yeah, they move on. But what did you make of it all?
I think it's amazing, but one of the most amazing things about it is that it turns out Sir Alex Ferguson is older than David Moyes. That's,
yes.
It wouldn't actually have surprised me that much if Moyes had retired, and Fergie had taken his job. Surely. I mean, he's 20 years younger than him.
I know, but to be fair, Sir Alex, he looks good, doesn't he?
He's doing all right. Moyes, I think, is like me. He's one of those people that folk look at and go, drink water, please. I think I'm getting the Moyes-type wrinkly eyes. But he's probably a nice bloke.
I don't see any similar... I wouldn't describe him as a Luco-likey for you.
Yeah, there's a dour Scotsman.
Well, Moyes looks very much like my father-in-law.
Is that right?
So I should be mortally offended that you've just described him as looking so rough. Because I'll have, Ken Gregory is a handsome man.
I don't think he's not
I've
handsome.
seen that written on many toilet walls, I have to say. I like, people were kind of coming forward and they were paying tributes, and I liked Joel Glazer, one of the chairmen. He said, "I will always cherish the wonderful memories, like that magical night in Moscow."
Yeah.
Which I think personally should have remained between them. People are away, they're on business, they get lonely.
What goes in Moscow?
Exactly. What happens in Moscow stays in Moscow. I agree with that. But
well, it's been remarkably sober, a lot of the coverage, because I'm currently working on Russell Howard's Good News.
Yes.
And so we have to scour the news in tedious, soul-crushing detail.
Oh, he's given a little plug to his other projects.
Yeah,
he likes doing that.
Yeah. But there's been nothing. We've been looking for sort of rejoicing Scousers, leaving blogs, online on YouTube and stuff like that. And there's been nothing. It's all been quite soberly handled. And there's just lots of sort of quite fond stuff. So suddenly the hairdryer treatment is given this kind of, do you remember the hairdryer treatment? It was this wonderful thing. Although someone should now open the hairdressers in Manchester and call it the hairdryer treatment.
That'd be good.
And then they could have sort of squeaky bum time could be a sort of specialist bleaching salon.
I think that sounds a wonderful idea. Look, one thing we know that Sir Alex wouldn't want is for us to go into injury time, so we'll be back in a minute.
Absolute
Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
This is the Frank Skinner Show on Absolute Radio, but Frank's not here. You've got me, Emily Dean, and I'm here with Steve Hall and Alun Cochrane. And we're talking a little bit about Sir Alex Ferguson.
It's been well handled, hasn't it, the thing? Like, there's no gossip about it beforehand, really. Like, one night of gossip beforehand, and then there was the switch.
Yeah.
And then there was, will it be Mourinho, will it be Fergie? Not Fergie, Moyes. It's Fergie that's gone, wasn't it? Although it would have been fun if they'd just gone for Fergie from Black Eyed Peas.
Black Eyed Peas, or toe-sucking Fergie.
Then maybe
that dates me, doesn't it? That so dates me to refer to her as toe-sucking.
There was a point when there was both Fergies in the tabloids, though, wasn't there? There was toe-sucking and hairdryer Fergie. Two different grooming Fergies.
How do we think, though, with...
pedicure Fergie.
David Moyes, because they call him the Moyes Sire, don't they, at Goodison? Yes. That's how revered he is.
Moyes Sire?
The Moyes Sire. My Scouse friend told me that.
Nearly works, doesn't it?
I know.
It doesn't quite scan satisfyingly enough.
Keep trying, Scousers. But I don't think there'll be any trouble. He's got his last fixture.
He'll be fine.
Do you think it'll be okay?
Yeah, I think...
He doesn't need an armed guard or anything.
I think people know that it's one of the... There's a bit of me that's sad that he's going from Everton, but there's also a bit of me that's quite pleased that someone that has just been steady away and not won anything has got the big job, because so often people like that then get passed over, don't they? So it's sort of nice.
It's very much how I feel when I get asked to be on this show.
That's nice. I worry about Fergie's shoe size, though, because they've been banging on
I worry about Sven-Goran Eriksson's shoe size 4, I've been told by a stylist, but anyway.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well,
that's what I've heard.
But that's easier for the person that gets the job after him, because they're not big boots to fill. But with Fergie, they've been banging on about how big his boots are to fill all week, haven't they?
What I don't like about him is that he does always go for a zip-up top with a coat over it.
I've seen
I won't tolerate that.
You mean the winter coat?
Absolutely intolerant of that.
I think the two are entwined. I think it's the same garment.
Oh, it's not.
I promise you. I'm convinced it is, because I've looked at that coat a lot and thought...
Is there one?
I'm not a Man United fan, but
is there one central zip down the back?
No, I think the front has... You know those coats that have got inlay, sort of woolen... cardigans.
I know them, I've just never had to actually touch them.
There's probably a name for them, isn't there? What's the name for them in the biz?
Horrible?
I quite like it. It looks cosy for the touchline.
No.
No?
It's just like, I like the fact that it looks cosy. That's such a brilliant... It's not a word that's often associated with football.
Well, Wenger's sleeping bag coat, that looks cosy as well, doesn't it?
No one can touch AVB for technical area chic.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's got it going on, hasn't he? And Mourinho, maybe.
Yeah. Well, he might have his hands full soon. So so we'll miss the old boy, won't we?
There's now talk that Mancini might be on the way out at City as well, and he's possibly going to be replaced with a Malaga coach, Pellegrini, which I think is a shame, because for whatever you say about Mancini, he doesn't deserve to be replaced by a bottle of mineral water.
No one does. Do you think... See, we've gone very football in Frank's absence. I like to think...
People think they've tuned into TalkSport.
It's got to be TalkSport. I like it, though, because I don't think they'll be expecting it from a lady.
No, perhaps not. Might be expected more...
It's been quite nice watching the news and seeing a lot of old United players who I haven't seen in years. So I saw there was an interview with Clayton Blackmore.
Yeah.
And it's just... I don't know, he's still part of the setup at Old Trafford, but outside of MUTV, he's not going to crop up too much.
And also some mischievous journalists asking them if they would take the job. I don't think that was fair for Paul Ince to have to answer.
I think we've had quite enough football, and I think we're going to go to some ads, and then I might be talking about Liberace.
This is
Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.
So, boys, I had a little outing this week.
Oh, my God.
I know. It was an incredibly heterosexual evening.
Oh.
I went to a sneak preview of the new Liberace biopic.
On your outing?
Is he being lined up as the new Everton manager?
Yeah, I believe so. He'd be good, wouldn't he? Lots of good hair. Bit David Pleat on the hair front, maybe.
Can I just make a confession?
You can. God. Brace yourselves, everyone.
You know, I've said in the past that I think Wikipedia is perfect for questions that you feel too embarrassed to actually ask another human.
Yes.
I think I might be about to... I should really turn to Wiki... I don't know who Liberace is. I just have no idea. I
Steve Hall could...
it's an enormous
we're a
gap
nation
in my
in
pop
shock
knowledge,
right now. He was, I think it would be best... I think he could be described as flamboyant.
Yes.
He was a pianist of the 70s.
Pianist.
Yes.
Flamboyant pianist.
Yes.
Right.
There's really no other way to describe him. He used to
Can you
wear...
try some other ways? Because I still don't really...
I only knew about him in the song Sandman. There's a line in that, and lots of wavy hair like Liberace.
Do you think we have to pay a bit extra for that now? Is that
well, it's
how
coming out of my
commercial radio
pocket.
works?
Frank's not going to pay
To be honest,
that.
it was so tuneless the way I sang it.
So did he have like lots of hits, like records, and
I
was
don't
he
know,
like
lots of hits.
like a Liam Gallagher figure? Was that?
He was more. He was.
He was
Elton John.
a bit more manly than Liam Gallagher.
Oh,
was
okay.
Liberace.
He was sort of a 70s character. And have you heard of Richard Clayderman or Clayderman?
I've heard of Richard. Didn't he?
Oh, you haven't heard of anybody. This is
Clayderman's
terrible.
a flautist, isn't it?
No, he's a pianist. Anyway, I went to see this film about him.
Oh,
which
maybe
would
I
have
should
been
see that.
useful for you, because you know nothing about him. But I can't reveal very much, because I had to sign one of those NDAs, those non-disclosure...
NDAs?
They're called NDAs, non-disclosure agreements.
I used to like them.
I haven't had to sign one of those since I dated a Premiership footballer.
It's an NWA joke, very good.
Oh, that's not the direction I thought. I thought you were referring to your clubbing days.
Oh, no.
Anyway, so I can't say too much about it, but it turns out he is gay.
You can say
That's
that.
the spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
I'm going to reveal he is gay, Liberace.
And he's played by Michael Douglas.
Played by Michael Douglas. His boyfriend is played by Matt Damon.
Right.
Yes.
He's
One
good.
thing I will reveal is that Liberace, because I think this is out there, much like him, he made his boyfriend have surgery in order to look like him.
No.
Yes. Which I don't think is that bad an idea. Honestly, I would consider that. If there were surgeons that specialised in the Dorian from Birds of a Feather facial construction...
You don't look like Dorian from
Do I
Birds.
not?
Nigel Clough, I will concur with. You've told me that before. It is funny. Or you could just go out with Nigel Clough and save on the surgery.
That would be great. It'd be a match made in heaven. But also at this screening were Lorraine Kelly and Richard Arnold off Daybreak. So it was quite camp. It was quite a camp fest.
Oh, he was on Strictly, wasn't he?
He was, exactly.
Isn't it wrong that I know who he is, but not who Liberace is? Is that...
I think it's terrible. I think you should be ashamed of yourself.
It must be tricky in the context of the film to see if Michael Douglas's character is wanting Matt Damon to make Matt Damon look more like Michael Douglas.
Yeah.
And now Michael Douglas, as he gets older, looks quite a lot like Zelda from Terrorhawk.
Very much so, yeah.
That's so cruel, but true. But what I did discover during this film, I sat on, it was a very posh screening room, and it was on a red leather sort of banquette sofa, and I'm very particular about my seating arrangements when I watch a movie at home. Oh, this was uncomfortable. This was so... I could get no purchase. You know, it was a sloping sofa, and my legs were splayed out like I was on an operating table. It was so uncomfortable. So... that actually ruined the enjoyment of the movie for me. I had a terrible backache afterwards.
Was it slipping off territory? Was it one of those leather sofas where you feel like
very
you can't...
slidey and more sort of... I don't think... I was actually working out when I felt less comfortable, and I think when I had to spend 2.5 hours making small talk with Salman Rushdie during his fatwa, that's the only time I felt as uncomfortable. But I realised
story,
at
that.
home... I know.
Great.
I never elaborate on it. I think you say it best when you say nothing at all when it comes to Salman.
Can I just say you're the only person I know who's been chatted up by Dennis Rodman and had a meal with Salman Rushdie during his fatwa. They're two pretty big stories.
But are you guys quite particular about how you sit when you watch a film?
Yeah, you need the footstool in a certain place, don't you? Like if you've got a footstool, you need your bits, don't you? You need your bits that you like in the places you like them.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, you have to be tolerant. That's the thing. I find that my wife complains a lot, so I have to take one for the team, because the wife likes to lean on me if we're watching a film.
OK, we're going to hear more about Steve's wife leaning on him in a minute.
Frank
Skinner.
on Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
This is Emily Dean. I'm in for Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio this morning. I'm with Alun Cochrane and Steve Hall. And I've just discovered a button on Frank's little setup here which says kill. It's a big black button, and I nearly pressed it earlier, and the producer looked alarmed. What happens if I press that, Daisy?
I have no idea.
Should we try it?
No, don't.
Frank had it installed after the Sony nominations came out.
With great power comes great responsibility. I think we should bear that in mind.
Is that for the judges?
Maybe, yeah.
Less said about that, the better.
We were discussing sitting and watching films, and you like to get cosy.
Well, don't make me sound like some filthy creep.
I didn't mean you, as in, I meant one. One likes to get cosy when staying at home. I haven't watched the film at home for ages, but when I do, I like to get the cushions right and all that stuff. My wife watches films with a slanket that she puts over our...
She doesn't.
Over our legs.
She does not.
She does, yeah. She gets the blanket out or the slanket.
She has a slanket. What colour is it?
It's like a...
The producer looks like she's vomiting into the bin as a result of this revelation.
Yeah. I mean, if I could...
Do you have matching slankets?
No.
Because you're walking, if that's true. You're out of the studio.
How big is a slanket? Does it cover two pairs of legs?
Full-length blanket. Right. Yeah, she tries to put it over both our legs, but I try to stick my feet out of it.
That must cook up at the end of a...
Yeah, yeah.
If you've had a nice meal together.
Well, if it depends, really. It depends on my flatulence, but it can get toasty in there, yeah, it really can.
Oh, my God.
It's like when people cook fish in one of those bags.
You could kind of time it if you were watching, say, Silence of the Lambs. Just waft it at the first time you see the people stuck down the well.
I like all your food-based films.
Smell-o-vision.
No, I don't like the sound. That's my worst. Imagine the BFM. I bet he's got a slanket or two on him.
Well, it's made of his own skin.
He is a slanket.
A nappy would be good, wouldn't it? A nappy for watching the telly.
A nappy, darling?
Yeah, just sit there
what
in a nappy.
What on earth do you mean?
A nappy. Just pop on your film nappy, and then you know that you don't have to press
you having to go to the toilet?
Just sit and watch the whole thing. You could get through all of, like, Skyfall, that I still haven't seen, but I understand it's
sitting
really
there
long.
in a nappy.
This could be a brilliant idea. Maybe Tenor Lady are going to suddenly branch into Odeons and Cineworlds for the length and breadth of the nation.
I mean, I've often advocated the nappy for long drives, but nobody started making
There was that woman who drove across America wearing a nappy.
That's right, yeah. The astronaut.
Well, the Cochrane does have his belt on driver setting, and now I'm starting to understand why.
I do. I like to loosen it off a notch for driving, and then I have it on stand-up as well.
Do you know what I do? When I watch a movie, I've got a real setup, guys. I can't be disturbed either.
Slanket, nappy.
No, slankets are involved.
Jalapenos.
There's 3 cushions behind my back.
Lumber support.
Yeah, for purchase, exactly. Nice. Lumber support. One is a dog cushion. I have a fox cushion. It's all very Dr. Dolittle around my way.
All the animals are on your back.
There's a menagerie behind my back.
Uh-huh. What's the third one? A dog and a fox?
Well, it's disappointing. It's a neutral sand tone. But, you know.
You can't have everything, can you?
No, exactly. 2's a story, 3's a crowd. I don't know what that means. I've just made it up. I like it. I put my feet out on... I love putting my feet on my puff. Mm-hmm. I always have to have them on the puff.
I believe Michael Douglas is the same. Thank you very much.
And then over that, instead of a slanket, I have a promotional blanket given to me by a champagne brand when I went to Wimbledon once. I know you'll approve of that, because guess how many pounds it costs?
Zero.
Exactly.
£0.
Working in your world. I have the blanket over me. On top of that...
No.
I'm not done yet.
Nothing's going on there.
Nothing. So I'll tell you what's going on there.
It's like Buckaroo or something.
I have a specialist tray, laptop tray, which I bought.
In my cellar.
I bought it on the internet. It goes over my lap, and on it is my beverage and my snacks.
Nice.
For the movie.
You're like the Sir Ranulph Fiennes of cinema watching. The kit you have to assemble.
If someone knocks at the door, I've had it.
If someone knocks at the door, just you can't answer it. It'd take about 20 minutes to get out of under all that, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Surely you just leave it. Nobody
Yeah.
answers their door in London anyway, do they?
Well, this is true. Someone used to pizza delivery, and obviously I can't eat carbohydrates. So. But yeah, so I love my little setup. I'd like to know if any of our readers, as Frank rather affectionately calls our listeners, due to a mistake once, which is now caught on. What's your kind of movie watching setup? What are your bits and bobs that you like around you when you're watching a movie?
Where are your bits and bobs while you watch a movie? That's today's texting.
That's today's texting. Thanks.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
This is Emily Dean in for Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio. Hello, boys. That's my catchphrase.
Hello, boys.
Trying it out for size. What do you think?
From Eva Herzegovina.
Yes,
Yeah, it's quite post-feminist, I'll be
I
honest.
think it's fine. I think
Good.
We're all knowing, aren't we? We're all what do you call them? Usurers? Yeah, we're that. We mentioned earlier on Touchline Chic of AVB, and we've had a text from 760 saying if you want Touchline Chic, see Paul Tisdale's of Exeter City. He wears a cravat.
Oh, does he indeed?
See, that is a great, not very Absolute Radio texting. Which football manager wears a cravat? Who's got Touchline Chic that you support? That rock and roll football.
I always like a cravat in the technical area.
I've heard.
That's written on a toilet wall somewhere. I think.
Steve Hall, you've had your nose buried in a paper this morning.
I have. Well, we've talked about Liberace, a beloved showbiz figure.
I like to think it's what Frank would have wanted as well. He likes a bit of the campery.
He does, yeah.
And another beloved showbiz figure has been in the news, Helen Mirren. I don't know if you saw this. I don't know if you saw the Dame Helen Mirren, the extremely shaky camera footage of her berating these drummers outside where she was performing as Her Majesty the Queen.
I've seen
Yeah.
that
in the
footage,
West End.
but it's not conclusively her,
Hang on,
is it? It's just a little
Helen Mirren's
purple-
playing the Queen? What's
Yeah.
going on?
Helen Mirren is in a play called The Audience, which I've seen.
Have you?
I have. I saw it in preview, and it was with Robert Hardy playing Winston Churchill, but I think he dropped out.
Did he?
He's very impressive. He's about 88. when he was playing
That's a
Winston
fair enough
Churchill.
excuse, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it was-
Why does she always play the Queen, though? She's turning into a bit like Mike Yarwood, where that's just her repertoire of 70s impressions. Like she also does Prince Charles and David Bellamy.
She's the Mike Yarwood of royalty. That's what she's got on her cards, on her business cards.
So she had a bit of a cob on, didn't she?
She was very angry, and it was officially reported that she'd politely asked them to desist from their drumming, and then it turned out that she'd actually turned the air royal blue.
Royal blue.
if you will. Which is, I mean, she shouldn't be surprised. The sound of loud banging in Soho should be no surprise to her.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, Steve, you're so...
There's a lot of drummers, that's what I'm saying.
A
There's
lot of roadworks, yes.
She apparently said, "Quiet, I'm trying to do a play in here," which is something I used to say to my parents on a regular basis.
Also, there's something about people in costume
Yes.
who are not being the character. It's just funny. Like when you see somebody dressed as Noddy going and buying cigarettes and a bottle of pop or something. Like if you've done any performing, you've seen this happen, and it always makes me chuckle a little bit.
Yeah.
I know somebody that did a theatre tour with Noddy, and he went to buy pile cream during the in between the matinee and the binge.
I'd love to have seen this play with Noddy.
Yeah.
But also, people must have thought it was the actual Queen running
The
out to
real
remonstrate
Queen.
with him.
Yeah. Just down the road, Buckingham Palace. Going, come on.
It looks like a really confusing changing of the guard. There's drummers. It's some ceremonial thing.
Yeah, surely the Queen's used to drumming all the time. Like the real Queen would be like...
I was going to say, come on, trooping of the colour, pot and kettle, I'm sorry, she can't use that excuse.
Yeah,
There's a lot of noise coming out of her gaff. But you know what I like best about this story is being a child of actors, which I often talk about on this show.
Mm-hmm.
I like that actors don't sort of get angry like normal people. So what happens is that they storm out anyway. It's that kind of thing where she left the theatre, she came, and then she just walked back. And I think that's the normal response for an argument. Because you guys, you probably have an argument and you just stay in the room, don't you? Mm. Whereas we argue like actors. We used to say when my mum would shout at us, we'd go, "End of Act 2," when she'd walk out the room. That never went down very well.
Exit chased by a bear.
Yeah, I always think there should be stage directions at the end of a row. I think someone has to leave or it's not a row.
You have an exit line and a flounce.
Oh, is that? Do you not have an exit line?
No.
Don't
I just
you?
say there. I just say something and then just stare like a really dour face. That'd be me. I'd still be staring at those drummers now. I'd just be going...
I'm impressed the way she handled it, but the best handling of a disruption during a play in New York, Paul Rudd, the excellent comedy actor,
Yeah.
he was in a play on Broadway, and a member of the audience was taken ill in the balcony. They lost their lunch over the balcony onto the stalls below. And he carried on, and apparently it was an excellent performance, despite the fact that half the stalls had been dispersed.
Oh dear.
I like the sound of that. You see, that's the thing about it, because you can't live with them. You can't live with them. Can I say we are rowing a little bit about the temperature in here?
Yeah, I like it colder, but I've got a natural austerity, according to my wife.
You like it tundra temperature.
Yeah.
And I like it nice and toasty. We could never share a duvet. It's for the best, really.
Get a slanket.
I'm not being sucked into your slanket world.
Get a slanket and then we'll talk. We've had a text from Ian Angel, who's a regular punner.
Is he one of my regulars?
He's one of the regulars. And on the story about Helen Mirren telling the drummers off, she should have confiscated their hi-hat and kept it as a status symbol. See what he's done.
Oh, he's done a little pun.
Yeah.
I like that.
It did occur to me that when she was telling the drummers off, it's dangerous territory, because she could have got some right stick.
Ah.
Right stick.
Nice.
Yeah.
Again, it's what Frank would have wanted. He'd be very happy. Frank, if you're listening, we're still punning.
A confusing text. Well done, Alan, on getting the 4th plinth gig in Trafalgar Square. I don't know if that's someone saying there's nothing on the 4th plinth and I'm boring. I bet that's what that is. I haven't even checked, but I'll bet that's what that is. Or it could just be that there is a statue that looks like me. I don't know. Anyway.
You know what I think it's time for? I think it's time for a little wander into our favourite place.
Email corner.
Oh, I love hearing his little voice. Okay, who's got
really
emails for me? I do. I always miss him.
We've got an email from Tom Lavender in Sunderland, who writes.
I like the sound of Tom Lavender. Do you think he's married simply for appearances? I do hope so. I'd like to be Mrs. Lavender. Sorry,
That's
as you
nice,
were.
Mrs. Lavender. It's a nice, sort of classy elder lady. So save it till in your 50s or 60s.
Yeah.
Which is at least 30 years away.
Thank you.
Very good.
He writes, Tom Lavender writes, Dear Frank and the gang, regarding last week's show and the mention of humorous autobiography names, I thought I'd share one that particularly amused me. I discovered the other day that the autobiography of rock bassist Gene Simmons is entitled Kiss and Makeup.
That's great.
2 puns in one. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did.
That's excellent work. Yes, I'm very impressed by that.
For anybody unaware, Kiss perform in makeup, so it's,
I like your deconstruction of the title there.
I feel like I didn't know who Liberace was, so I need to just play to the people that are as...
Yeah, but absolute listeners, they're going to be familiar with the output of Kiss.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Keith Chegwin's autobiography? Do you know, this may have been discussed previously. Keith Chegwin, he was saying that he was quite honest about his drinking problems. And so that he had wanted to call his autobiography Cheggers Can't Be Boozers.
Yeah, but isn't that
he has definitely been honest about his drinking.
I've seen him in an interview say it. He may have co-opted someone else's joke, as he is wont to do.
I'm glad he didn't go for that. I always say on this show, my favourite autobiography title was Ian Botham, Don't Tell Kath.
That's good.
Kath was his name of his wife.
I'm quite fond of Mike Catt, the former England rugby player. Mike Catt called his autobiography Landing on My Feet.
Nice.
Oh, that's good.
That is good.
He didn't go for the 9 lives then. That would have been more of an obvious option.
Yeah.
He might have had coughing up a fur ball.
Have you thought of one for yourself? What about The Whole Way?
Nice.
As in, this is how you did your life the whole way. And you could have Dean There, Done That.
I love that. But what am I going to do with Hidden Shallows then? I'm waiting for that.
Hidden Shallows?
Yes.
That's nice.
I've also got Premiers and Premier League players. But that might just be a chapter.
So all the possible titles you could just make into chapter titles.
Well, also that chapter's currently with my lawyers, so we'll see how that one pans out. Apparently there are injunctions now. A little bit of a blow to me.
We have another email. Hi Frank, sorry for the interruption. Well, not too Frank, but yes. This is slightly odd that we're doing this when Frank isn't here. I have a number plate, W8ROM, so it looks like WB West Brom, which I acquired a few years ago. I'm in the process of selling this and wondered if you would be at all interested. If so, please let me know. Many thanks, Adam. We'll put it to him, Adam, but I suspect not.
Yeah.
It's just my guess, because I would imagine that Frank sees people with private number plates the same way he sees people who smoke cigars.
Also, I think that's reaching a bit.
Yeah, it's
W8ROM. That sounds like a rom-com director who lives in West 8. That would be good for them, but it's not good for a West Brom fan.
It's W8 is weight, so it's like weight rom.
That's how I read it.
Terry Waite could have that. Have you had a partner beginning with the name Rom?
Yeah.
I don't know if he's still with us.
It sounds like Remus has said to his brother Romulus, "Shall we found Rome yet?" Hey, no, wait, Rom.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
This is the Frank Skinner Show on Absolute Radio. You're listening to Emily Dean. I'm standing in for Frank this morning. I'm joined by Steve Hall and Alun Cochrane. You can text us in on 81215, or you can follow us on Twitter at Frank on the Radio. I've done all my housekeeping. I love it. I feel like I've Febrezed the whole apartment.
Well, it's funny you should mention Febreze, because during that song there was photographs happening of your T-shirt. And
which, can I say, is a rather fine T-shirt.
It is a fine T-shirt, and it began a conversation where we all began talking about our T-shirts. And I did think, oh my goodness, are we going to end up with the next text in being, what's the most you've ever paid for a T-shirt? That would be
I don't want to discuss what I paid for my T-shirt. You know, also, Daisy, the producer, she's made an extraordinary, I don't know what to call it really, but it's called parking.
Well, that's
text
what
us
to call
in.
it.
Readers, text us in.
If
you've heard of parking. If you've had parking, which sounds like a disease.
On bonfire night, typically, don't they? They have it bonfire night.
Yeah.
It's an affliction. It's not a cake. I can't eat that.
It's nice.
She made it, and she actually said to me, I don't think you'll like it. It's very gingery.
It is very gingery. And it's nice.
Extremely gingery, which is ironic, because there was once a children's BBC presenter called Simon Parkin, who was very ginger.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's very beady, isn't it?
I don't think you should taste this on air.
In it. Do you not think so? I'm going to taste
oaty.
it. Okay.
Some people hate hearing food being eaten on the radio, don't they?
Okay, well, I'm sorry. Bad morning for them.
Tough luck for them. Are you going to try it now?
Okay, I'm going to try it now. Let's see. This is great radio.
I think it might be.
This is,
especially if you don't like ginger and cake. I think this could be about
Emily Dean is eating the parkin.
So Sony
she
judges.
She has a single solitary morsel in her hand. She tastes.
Oh my God.
It has not gone well. The north-south divide is underlined.
Well, that's answered one question anyway.
She's about to potentially gag all over her new T-shirt.
I've got parkin in my hand. Never thought I'd say that. Ow.
Very, very honest.
I need you to talk, because my tongue seems to have gone numb with disgust.
I can...
Proof that ladies are bad at parking.
Oh, very good.
Oh, I love your 1970s material.
It's not misogyny, it's wordplay. That's what that was. It sounded like the former, but it was very much the latter. And well done. Yeah. As you know, I have a frequent paranoia that I'm incredibly dull and boring. And I also think I play by the rules a bit too much, and this week has proven it. I actually phoned my car insurers, because when I love this story, as Frank Skinner would say. So dull. When I took out the insurance, they said on the phone, how many miles do you think you'll drive in the year? And I said, about 10,000. And then they sent a letter. I think about 10,000 is the answer. They sent a letter that I had forgotten. In the print, it actually says in bold, not more than, like, shouty, like people on the Daily Mail forum comments where they've got caps lock on, and it says not more than, and I thought, oh my, I'm going to go over that, but it expires in July.
Right.
So I was thinking maybe I should just let it go over.
Let it slide?
And not phone them up and tell them.
Sorry, the parking's returning on me.
But then I started having morbid fantasies, like, oh, what if my car got stolen? They said, oh, well, you're not insured anymore because you'd gone over your 10,000. And so I phoned them up and said, I'm being honest here.
Is that how you started the conversation? Like it was a breakup?
Yeah,
look, I'm being honest with you.
I'm a football manager, I've got to be honest. At the end of the day, I'm going to go over my 10,000. But I went for honesty. Literally, honesty was the best policy, if you'll forgive the insurance pun. And it was like an extra 40 quid or something. But I just wondered how honest people were. Do you think that's too honest? Have I gone above and beyond the call of duty.
You've been stung by insurance issues before.
Oh, God, I hate them. If there's any insurers listening, I hate you. I want you to know that you work in a revolting world.
That's both our listeners gone then, thank you.
Frank
Skinner.
on Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
This is Emily Dean, and I'm doing my bit. I like doing it.
Okay, you do your bit.
This is Emily Dean in for Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio. That didn't sound very professional. You threw me.
We've had a text from Joe saying, course heard of parking, treacly cake of flapjack-like. Yeah, it is.
Joe, I have to say, I've still got parking in my teeth, and it's absolutely despicable.
Parking is from Berry and Lank's ginger cake, yeah. That's, who would have thought that at the start of the show would end up with a parking text in?
I described the taste as almost astringent.
Yeah, it's not for people that don't like ginger, I think that's what we could
but it's
say.
better than that strychnine cake that Sarah the Poisoner made me the other week. I wasn't a big fan of that, I have to say. We were talking earlier about dishonesty on Absolute Radio.
But more about my honesty compulsion. It's partly my fundamental laziness. You know that thing that people say that liars need to have good memories? I just think, what's the point in that? That's what they say about
I've got
liars.
a brilliant memory.
Oh, really? Are you good at the lying? Because
I'm very Hitler, lie big.
Lie big.
I'm very Hitler.
You actually love that parking.
Really? What do you lie about? Like big things?
I'll tell you a couple of lies I've told this week. I lied to, I think, is he the controller of Absolute Radio, Daisy, Tony? I lied to Tony. He doesn't know this. If you're listening, Tony, I'm sorry. But he caught me unawares, and he asked me if I'd called the producer. He said, have you spoken? And I went, yeah, we had a great conversation. No, I hadn't. I'd emailed, but I just felt I wanted to please him, so I lied. I do it all the time. But I have to say, working for Frank, I know he's not here with us today, but I'd say I've got I would say my honesty's increased by about 54% since I've been working for Frank.
By about?
Yeah, I'm going to go 54%, because he's brutally frank. He is. And he's the most honest person I know. And I do find that quite inspiring in a strange way. It forces me to want to tell the truth more. But then it gets you in all sorts of trouble. Sometimes it's easier to lie, isn't it?
Well, it's always a fascinating thing that there are liars at school. And if you meet a compulsive liar at school and they get found out at school, that's part of school days. But then every now and then you'll encounter a compulsive liar who has retained it into adulthood.
Yeah.
And there's a bloke I know, for example, who once claimed that Wesley Snipes had left him a voicemail. And he really stuck to it. And because he went, no, I've deleted it. Yeah. And he was saying that Wesley Snipes kind of gone, hey, I hear you're acting, and I thought, you might want to just hang out. We could hook up, work on a few projects together. But you're at a point where
the Wesley Snipes voicemail gate.
And he's at a point where the fellow was 32 years old, and it's quite difficult to say to a 32-year-old man, I don't think Wesley Snipes did leave you a voicemail.
Yeah, that, in fact, that little bit of acute embarrassment of saying to an adult, this isn't true, is how they trade off that
exactly.
for a whole life of adult lying.
Yeah.
There's a guy in Manchester that claims that when Kylie Minogue's in town, she phones him up for a night out. No, it's not true.
I could just lie about... There was a girl... I know what you mean about the school liar. Forever, they're known as the school liar, even as adults. There was a girl who used to lie all the time, and she said, oh, yeah, I said I used to live in Australia. She went, I did too. I said, oh, where did you live? She went, Sydney. I don't believe you wouldn't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, that would be awkward.
The danger is, because I'm a compulsively...
We should say, by the way, Steve, if any of our readers... have got examples of when they think it's okay to be a little dishonest what they've lied about.
Yeah, when's it
They
fine?
could text us in on 81215.
Let's hear your lies.
Yeah.
Excellent. Because I'm compulsively truthful, and it's on those few occasions where I do tell a lie, it makes me feel just absolutely awful. And there is one significant lie, and all the time I've known the Cochrane, there's one significant lie that I've ever told you.
What is it?
Oh my God, brace yourself, everyone. Sorry, that was the producer that you heard coughing/laughing there.
Working in radio, coughing.
Yeah.
With the mics up.
We were talking about lies on Absolute Radio.
Well, actually, I was trying to talk about honesty, because I have this honesty compulsion.
We did the old switcheroo.
And my lies are small. I nearly fibbed to my wife recently that I hadn't lost some headphones in a hotel because she bought me some noise-cancelling headphones. I lost them last year.
Why did you have noise-cancelling headphones in it? Oh,
to sit
God,
on
I
the
don't want to
train.
know.
And then she bought
In a
me some-
hotel? Who
No,
was
she bought
next
me
to
some
you?
More. No, nobody was next. I just
Okay.
had the headphones with me, and then I
Okay.
left the hotel, and I nearly lied to my wife that I haven't lost them, but I'll tell you who did lie.
Mm.
The hotel said, oh, they're not there. Oh, yes, they were. I won't name the hotel.
Well, no, don't, because I don't think your lawyers have got pockets big enough.
Well, I haven't got lawyers, so
Oh.
yeah, you're right.
Who hasn't got lawyers?
But
Come on.
we've had a few texts in of lies that people have been told. At school, a friend told me that his uncle fell asleep on the M1 and ended up in Scotland. Thinking back now, he was probably lying.
Can I just
Mike
say,
from Watford.
that's the most glamorous lie I've ever heard.
Well, also, it's nice that it's from Watford. That's quite a journey, isn't it? Watford to Scotland on the M1.
Any
Yeah.
more lies?
We've had it on the Twitters. We've had, which I think is the correct way of saying
I
that.
think it is now.
Glenn Bateman has tweeted to say, a liar at my school said he could breathe underwater for an hour and that he had regular, secret, deadly kung fu training.
Nice.
Alan still lies about that, to be fair.
do, yeah.
What is it, your jiu-jitsu?
When my son was 13, one of his friends claimed to have a secret room in his house where he had lap dancers on call 24 hours a day. Another friend claimed to have crash-landed in the Atlantic on his way on holiday and was rescued by a seaplane. They both stuck to their story for years. Very good, 644.
You see, these are impressive lies, aren't they?
They're lies
They've got a
that
big
brighten up the
scale.
world, aren't they? Whereas lies like me, driving around, having gone over my mileage on the car insurance, I started having morbid fantasies of, oh, what if something happened and then the insurer said, oh, no. Does that, like, is it worth telling boring lies?
That's where I felt bad. The lie that I told you was a fairly grotty one.
Now listen, we
let's
have
hear
been
about it.
trailing this lie somewhat. I'm afraid we do have responsibilities on the show. And we do have to play music, but you know what? I'm gonna keep trailing that lie, and we're gonna hear about it after this.
This is
Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.
Have you had any more lies from the outside world?
We have. We've had Mark Connor texting. A school friend of mine told me he'd seen a Betamax pirate video copy of E.T. 2 in 1983. Definitely a lie, as the film still has not been made 30 years on.
I told a similar lie once, though. I said I'd seen Life of Brian to try and impress some boys on a holiday. And I said, oh, yeah, it was like a youth group holiday. I said, I've seen that film. And they went, no, you haven't. How could you have seen that? It's an 18 or whatever it was. And I said, I thought on my feet, how impressive is this? How Hitler is this? I said, my dad hired a projector and we watched it in the sitting room.
When you say Hitler, you mean lie big?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yeah.
Just for clarity.
Yeah. I said my dad hired a projector. I thought that was quite a good way out of it. But never mind all this. This has been trailing for some time. There is apparently a lie, some terrible lie, which Alan told Steve, or Steve told Alan?
I told Alan. I've built this up way beyond proportion.
Yeah, I don't-
Okay.
I don't
It's not going to be that bad. Do
I know it?
I think we sort of discussed it once drunkenly a number of years ago.
Can I just say, anything less shocking than some sort of reassignment surgery is not going to be good enough.
We're actually twins. I've never
Okay.
told you. Because over the years I've shared an Edinburgh flat with Alan on many occasions, and how he's not smashed my face in.
There's a puzzle for us all.
But back in the days, way back when I was still a single man, we shared an Edinburgh flat one year with a lady,
With a female technician.
with a female technician who was taxing to live with. I think it could be indeed taxing to look at if we're honest. But then so am I. But then so am I.
God.
But then I'm not blessed with charm.
What if
so-
someone said that about me, that I was taxing?
But they wouldn't say that about you because you're
No,
delightful.
just that I didn't think that they would say I wasn't nice to look at. My arrogance shines through. Anyway, as you were.
Well, there was one night where Alan had said to me, "You two were quite drunk last night. Did you get up to anything?" And I said, "How very dare you, sir? The very idea of course, I'm a gentleman of honour. I would never do such a thing. She's my Edinburgh flatmate. I above board. You don't do that on your own doorstep, etc., etc." And dragged Alan over the
Can I
coals.
just say, Alan, I suspect he used a Category C swear word at that juncture.
That might have happened, yeah.
Said, "How dare you, sir? Have you looked at her?" And Alan
Steve?
accepted it, and then
Frank's a feminist. Come on.
So am I. So am I.
It's gone really awkward.
Feminist show, isn't it?
Anyway, go on.
so Steve
and then
did
it was
that.
about 3 years later where I was suddenly overcome with remorse and told Alan the truth of what happened that fateful night, which is that we'd got up to all manner of grot.
Oh, I'd forgotten that. You're right,
sorry.
you must have told me when drunk.
I had blotted my copybook. But the shame, it was a real, mate, I've got, it's been troubling me for a long time, I've got to tell you this.
I still can't get past grot.
Oh, dear.
Oh, Steve, did you have to do it? Well, you know.
But the truth's out. I'm sorry, mate.
Yeah, how rude.
The truth's out, but I'm afraid...
Eventually.
Yeah, we have to leave these shenanigans.
We've had another lying text in.
A friend at school told everyone she had a swimming pool in her garden, even though she lived on the estate as the rest of us. Believe me, no one had a swimming pool there. That's in brackets. Years later, she was in the local paper claiming to have seen a UFO.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
You're listening to Absolute Radio. I'm Emily Dean, and I'm in for Frank Skinner this morning. Any more lies, boys? No, I was just asking about your personal lives. Because I know what you both like.
Mark has texted, don't know why, but when I was at school I told all my mates that my dad built Big Ben. Strange, but I got away with it.
And Glenn has tweeted to say, during a spate of big cat sightings in the UK, an adult man I knew said he saw a panther in the wild and punched it in the face.
I love that man.
It's that last bit that makes it less believable, because someone's seen...
But that's the thing, he's obviously told that lie and then thought this isn't impressive enough, it needs to spike in some way.
I'm going to have to ladle it on a bit. I like him, though. I think that's the right attitude with lying. It's still not as good as when I cried off at work at the Gap, where I was employed as a greeter, and said I had appendicitis, when actually I had my Oxford University interview.
I know somebody that left a job by saying that they were moving to Barcelona.
Very good.
I'll tell you what's not a lie. With there's a story in the Daily Mail that apparently...
Who was that, Alex, said that?
Just a friend of mine.
Okay.
Somebody that works in radio production.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant Gary Lineker for a minute.
He's a producer, a radio producer, I know.
Oh, okay. Lovely bit of parking. Yeah.
Apparently, and I'm interested to know your view on this, Emily Dean. Musicians really are sexier. Scientists, rather than curing people of illnesses, have found that carrying a guitar increases your chance of getting a date by up to a third. They basically got an actor in France to go up and ask women out on a date.
Yeah, an actor. I'm really going to find him attractive, aren't I, with my family background and
They
view
got
of
him to
actors.
carry nothing, then they got him to go up with a guitar, where he got a third more, and then I think they got him to go up holding a sports bag, or maybe it was sports bag first, then guitar, and then nothing, and the guitar got
It's
the
all
most
gone a bit
dates.
Monopoly pieces, hasn't it?
It's a bit
Someone with a
strange.
top hat and a dog.
Yeah, again, it's one of those things where you go, why are scientists doing this? But he did it, and apparently carrying guitars makes you more attractive. Not being able to play them, this is how fickle we are as people.
We just want to see them as accessories, affectation.
So, yeah.
I tell you what, there's one thing that would make him more attractive. If he was carrying a guitar and it had a priority tag on it saying first class, then maybe.
That would be impressive.
Maybe I'd consider. But I worry about, I don't know, it's a bit louche, it's a bit Pete Doherty, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean,
I don't like it. I think they just... Also, if you're reasonably good at playing the guitar, surely if you're at that standard, it will have been sent ahead to your hotel.
It should have been carried for you.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Why are you carrying it on the Northern Line? I don't like that.
It's also they did this survey just in a shopping centre.
Oh, did they?
So he approached 100 people in a shopping centre, which gives it a level of creepiness. And how this can masquerade as a survey when it's basically a bloke seeing how much he can get.
Yeah.
I've got a really
I could
good
do
idea
that.
for a survey. I'll just go up and chat up women in a shopping centre.
I'm
What do
going to
you
wander
think?
around Brent Cross with a ukulele, hassling women.
Those charges were never proved, and Frank is not here to defend himself. How dare you?
But then the same article listed that it said the most sexy song a guitar player can play is More Than Words by Extreme. Therefore, I sneer at that survey.
Oh, really?
I think if I could play guitar, I'd just constantly play that riff from Layla.
Oh, yes, you would. I can see you doing that.
Yeah.
You see, this is what worries me about these guitar players. If I went on a date with one of these guitar players, he's very, I've left my wallet at home, can you pay? And then he'd play you Bad Moon Rising as if that would somehow make up for it. Leave the guitar at home. Go naked, I say.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
You were talking earlier, boys, about guitar players, or actually not guitar players, men carrying guitars as accessories, and how they were apparently perceived in a test as more attractive.
Yeah.
And I beseeched to differ.
Yes, and you're right to do so, I think. I think it operates in that fine line between sort of artist and homeless, I think.
It is a bit of no fixed abode, isn't it?
Exactly. But I when I was a student, I studied at a drama and music college, and I think a female who can play the cello can look incredibly kind of graceful and beautiful. But if you go to college with them, they often look sweaty because they're carrying a cello around all day, every day. And it must be a pain because it's like yin and yang. They're either looking amazing and gorgeous, or they're carrying a cello up a flight of stairs. It must be annoying.
I couldn't do that with my lower back pain.
No, I suppose the double bass guys, they must really work up a sweat. They must stink.
But you see, there are certain accessories. What do you find in terms of what makes someone attractive? Because I would say a bit of a deal breaker for me is the man bag, the Rio Ferdinand man bag.
Like or dislike? A heavy dislike?
Oh, dislike?
Oh, really?
Well, I always wonder what they have in there. It's a big wallet. I think they just have injunction papers pre-written, ready to hand out.
The ones with no straps or handles?
Yes,
just like
exactly.
A slim, like
the clutch. We'd call it a clutch in the trade.
Yeah, let's call it a clutch.
Yeah.
Well,
because that's what it's called.
And he brought one.
Yeah.
You hate them.
I don't like them on a man. I love them on a lady.
One of the least attractive things, because obviously a musician carrying a guitar can look... It's a classy accessory, whereas a comedian...
Did your tummy rumble again,
yes.
Alan?
Yes.
What's going on with you? Eat some parking.
Working as a comic, if you're carrying your notebook, if you're doing your notes, if you're going through your set list on a train, and someone looks over, sometimes in the comedian's imagination, someone might look and go, "Oh, you're writing a comedy show. Oh, that's great. You're so interesting." But of course, the average comedian's notebook looks like the scribblings of a profoundly mentally ill human being.
It does when they're dating me.
And so it's not. So what I'd always imagine might be a nice accessory is usually, you get people actively moving away.
Yes.
I'll tell you what I do find attractive, this may be slightly weird, is some women can look really attractive when they've got slightly overlapping teeth, Now you are.
I love the way you looked round the room for recognition, as if we'd all go, yes, and we all looked a bit aghast.
There's a certain...
Are you talking about
a sort of snaggletooth?
A certain type of overlap that I find attractive, and then there's crooked teeth that I don't, but it's weird, isn't it?
That's a fine line they're going to walk there.
Exactly. People have got no control over this.
It is a fine line. That's exactly what the dentist said, in fact.
This is
Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.
This is the Frank Skinner Show on Absolute Radio. I'm Emily Dean, and I'm standing in for Frank this morning because he's been called away to act as temporary caretaker manager at Goodison Park. We wish him well. Good luck, everyone. Fingers crossed. I'm joined this morning by Steve Hall and Alan the Cochrane. I like inserting your moniker into your name like that. It's good. You can text us on 81215, or you can follow us on Twitter at Frank on the Radio.
On the subject of the cockerel, as my nickname is on this show for some reason, it's been brought to my attention that the fourth plinth in Trafalgar Square is about to have a 14-foot blue cockerel put on top of it, so it wasn't someone
It's all gone a bit Tottenham Hotspur.
It's nice, isn't it?
What about other clubs are available?
Yes, true enough. So that's that.
Okay. That's one of my favourite stories you've ever told. And you ended it with your mum's catchphrase, which is, so that's that.
So that's that.
Indeed.
What should we do, boys? I'm feeling a bit fluid this morning. We could go over to Email Corner.
Yeah, let's do that.
Do you fancy
Let's
that?
take a
I've got
wander.
to find the jingle, Daisy. Shall I play the jingle?
We can just say
let's sing it. Let's sing it.
A cappella style.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Email Corner.
Corner.
I went for a deep baritone there myself. Dear
Saying
Frank,
goodbye to the few listeners we had.
Dear Frank, Emily and the Cockerel, I've just boarded my train to work, happily listening to the podcast and giggling quietly to myself. I sat down and gradually became aware of unusual attention. Surrey commuters...
I love their music.
Surrey commuters don't generally look up or make eye contact. So why was everyone looking at me? Gradually, I realised that the sound on my MP3 was more echoey than usual. My headphones weren't properly connected, and I'd been inadvertently broadcasting Frank's Gershwin gag to the 8:56 to Waterloo.
We should say this was this last week.
It was him retelling a failed gag, wasn't it?
No, but what he does, he also did a yawn, and it was to the soundtrack of... kind of Porgy and Bess, I think it was. Yeah,
but it would be nice if the joke went down better in that train carriage.
I wonder if it did. I muttered sorry and kept my eyes firmly on my feet for the rest of the journey. I know somebody that went to work and somebody at the opposite desk was listening to music but with their headphone not plugged in properly and not noticing for the whole day. This is a lie I told the other day.
Oh. It's a lie / headphones email hybrid. So I think you'll agree it's rather perfect for this slot. I was listening to something. You know when you pull your headphones out of the iPhone and then the music suddenly goes on? It was a blast. And I don't know why it was on shuffle, but I think it was like a thong song, which I didn't even know I had on my iPhone.
Perfect.
I must have been, I think it was a drunk purchase one night. And took me back to one Edinburgh. Yeah.
On a drunk purchase.
I think I did. So I lied, and this friend of mine went, "What's that?" I said, "Oh, it's Mimi, my niece. She's always sending me silly links."
Very good.
Isn't that? I'm so sorry, Mimi. You would never listen to that.
You were to immediately stop bogling.
Yeah, exactly.
The email continues with a PS. PS, surprised to see Derek Acora has started a boxing career. Do you think the spirits advised him to fight Deontay Wilder?
Well, I think you're getting your Chisoras and your Acoras muddled up here.
Very good.
And your Kioras.
Sarah Stewart's that was, by the way.
We don't want Derek Acora trying to contact the Wilder spirits in the box. That would end in tears.
Derek Chisora and Derek Acora.
Is that what it is?
That's it. It feels like it's something like an actor would say as their vocal warm-up. Derek Acora and Derek Chisora.
They could be like the Chuckle Brothers. Oh, I'd love that if they started an act together. I think Chisora might have a slightly more tough love approach to the world of spirits.
Maybe.
Don't you think? He did a lot of shadow boxing.
Very good.
Nice.
Joke,
very nice.
Joke from the lady there. Didn't we have some other news from the spirit world, Steve, this week?
From the spirit world, the young lady Miley Cyrus. I've given her a noble title there. Lady Miley Cyrus.
He sounded like a master of ceremonies at Buckingham Palace.
She's convinced she was staying in an apartment near Harrods and convinced that her family saw a ghost. She said, I could have sworn I saw a little boy kicking his feet. And the ghost also apparently turned her sister's water to scalding in the shower.
Wow.
That's time well spent for the ghost, isn't it?
Scalding in the shower. Do you think maybe somebody on a different floor flushed the toilet? That's what happened. And the water went hot. I think the whole country is haunted because everybody gets that.
Billy Ray, the dad, because I was a big fan of his. He was some party at the back, business at the front hairdo, wasn't he? And what if he was washing his smalls in his sink elsewhere, you see?
Could have been. And Harrods isn't the first shop to have a problem with ghosts, is it? Primark's definitely got poltergeists on it.
Oh,
you go in, they've just chucked everything everywhere.
Right. There's people sweeping in there.
Yeah.
Sweeping clothes.
Because of the poltergeist.
Do you believe in ghosts?
No.
That's all right then.
Tune in next week.
I love that discussion, that ghost. Can I just say, though, what I like about that ghost is that I love a ghost near Harrods. You do get a better class of ghost in the SW1 area, I find, don't you?
Egyptian white cotton.
Yvette Fielding not allowed anywhere near them.
Frank
Skinner
on Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
Fred, I've got a correction to bring to you.
Is it to do with the way you pronounce corrections?
No, we've done that. That's old news, but I'll try and work past it. Nugget has said, sorry to be a pedant, Miss Emily, Frank yawned to Rhapsody in Blue, not Porgy and Bess.
You have reason. Sorry, I say that because that's how you literally conjugate it in French.
What is?
You have reason. instead of you're right. Sorry.
To our raison.
Exactly, Steve. Do you not speak French, Al?
No.
Oh, my. I was going to say a category C swear word in French then, but I'm not going to.
No.
Okay.
I have no
so
French.
can I just apologise for that profusely? And I know Frank will be listening at home. Well, he won't, because he'll be at Goodison Park as we speak. But I'm very sorry for that.
We also...
I stand corrected.
Corrected.
Yes.
See, I think that sounds
As the
fine.
Cochrane would say.
We also had a text, big kiss to the DJ, that's me, who said he loves a slightly overlapped tooth. I have this and was having an ugly day, but you've made me feel better. That's
Oh,
what I bring.
lovely.
I'm a genuine ray of sunshine.
That reminds me of your...
It surprises me as well, but turns out I am brightening up people's days. But surely.
Fran in Liverpool agrees with you, saying he's right. You know, the sexiest woman in the world, Jewel Kilcher, has a snaggletooth.
I'm going to have to Google.
Who's Jewel Kilcher? Oh, don't stop
She's
Googling.
one of those
Do that in your spare
she's
time.
a very airy-fairy singer who kind of like talks about like, this new album's kind of inspired by ice and fire, and I wrote it in a little coffee shop in Alaska. She has a book of poetry, Jewel, that is one of the most nauseating things I've ever seen.
Does she?
But she is undeniably pretty.
Was she in that flat in Edinburgh with you that time? Because you sound like you haven't
You
quite
wish.
let it go. Did you get up to grot with her?
Oh.
I'm sorry.
It sounds
He said
worse.
It.
It sounds worse you saying it for some reason.
I think I liked it better.
Sounds
We were
worse.
talking
Sounds
about
worse. You
ghosts.
doing it. We were
Goodness me.
innocently talking about ghosts here,
Yeah.
and can I
Now
tell
the
you?
spectre of Steve's
Bring it
past
up,
is...
Can I tell you what I find extraordinary about ghosts?
Yes,
Is that if I had, they've got a lot of time on their hands. In fairness,
they do.
they don't have a lot on.
They could have hobbies when you think about it.
Exactly. All they do is wander up and downstairs and move things around.
Yeah.
Destructively. If you're going to move things around, can you not put things away? Clean the house. I'd do that. Do me a nice favour.
A poltergeist that tidied up would be excellent.
I'd
the
love
money
that.
you'd save on the cleaner.
Well, they do the same job as a cleaner. They wander up and downstairs and just move things around in a bad place.
Occasionally break stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Occasionally.
Someone
should
should
come
tell
around
you,
my place.
You might be a poltergeist, but remember, you're also a polterguest.
Oh, yeah, that's a good mantra.
I think
For
ghosts...
the undead.
Yes.
But they could tidy up. They could do odd jobs. They need to get out more. There's a whole world out there.
Don't know if they can do that.
Join a youth group, lovey.
It's difficult to tell the undead to get a life. It's the exact thing they lack. But it's often people who say they've seen ghosts. Often there's a certain like people who believe in conspiracy theories.
Yes.
There's a certain type of person that believes in a
Are
conspiracy.
you saying they're people that like astrology? Because I think they do tend to be sometimes.
Yeah.
Would you not agree with that?
But Miley Cyrus said there was a little boy watching her when she was having a shower.
Yeah, that was a little strange, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's like some cockney urchin just perched on the windowsill having a look.
Yeah.
Weird.
She said I like what she said about it. She said, it was seriously so terrifying. And she said afterwards, which I also found really strange, was that he was kicking his feet up and down and that the windows had been opened.
Yeah.
Which I found, firstly I thought, well, I think if he was kicking his feet up and down, I think that might have been a Justin Bieber. Because he does get into hotel rooms.
Yeah. Yeah.
He likes a hotel room, Justin.
And the windows could just be open because somebody had used the bathroom before her, not for a shower, if you know what I mean.
Oh, and did a Fonzie, you might want to leave it a
Someone
minute.
had an achy, breaky heart.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Alun. I was going to call you Al Dog there.
You can call me
Have
Al.
a nice nickname?
Al Dog, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm already lumbered with the cockerel on, so
Okay.
let's not widen it too much. We got Cock-a-leaky, didn't we?
Yes, we did, and you didn't like that.
DJ Allo.
DJ Allo I was
Yes.
fine with. I had that, on my deck.
Have we heard from our readers?
We have. We've had, in fact, we never asked for any, have you actually encountered any ghosts? But we've had a text. I have an email in my inbox on my iPhone dated 01/01/1970. There is no message, no sender, and the email cannot be accessed, yet it is there in the inbox.
Oh,
Very otherworldly.
I love that email.
And then it says Curiouser and Curiouser, and that's from Alice. No, it's not. That's a little Alice in Wonderland.
Nice.
I love your material.
I wish it were. And we've also had, hi Emily and gang, keep up the good work, Frank will be proud. Our Keith.
Oh, Keith has
Heard from
texted
our
the
Keith.
show.
Yeah, it's
Do you know,
amazing.
that's made me so happy.
It's exciting,
Oh, Keith,
isn't it?
I'm so happy to hear from you. And, We send you lots of love, because he's more than a friend of the show. He's a relative of the show. He's an
Indeed.
actual relative.
For those that are not aware, that's Frank's brother.
Yeah.
Just, I like to welcome new listeners, widen it out.
Steve, you've had a bit of a mare on the food front recently.
I have. I've been very lucky. You eat some. Live in London, get to eat some fabulous food, get to travel the world with the wife. Australian wife,
Speak
get
for
to eat
yourself.
some fabulous meals in Australia. So every now and then, the balance of life has to restore itself, and you have to have one meal that is so pulsatingly bad that it makes you appreciate all other food.
I don't know about you, but pulsating's worrying me.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's pulsating in that was how undercooked it was.
Oh, no.
Oh.
It was a
So
small,
where can we set the scene?
a small restaurant near the Royal Free Hospital.
Let's not name it.
I won't name it.
Name it. No, don't.
No.
I'm only kidding.
I have already named it on TripAdvisor.
Have you actually?
I have indeed.
Oh, Steve, you're so TripAdvisor.
Absolutely furious review I left.
Did you? What did you say? I'd love to see Steve's TripAdvisor review.
Well, the main issue, there were many issues, the undercooked nature of the food being one, the fact that I left most of my lasagna, because I'm classy.
Undercooked lasagna?
Undercooked lasagna. When I pointed it out to the chef, when the waiter said why, he sort of questioned why I'd barely touched it, and I said, it's really undercooked, and he went, no, it's not.
No.
Which is a challenging thing to do. But there was also, they had the front sort of window was kind of pulled down. It was like a partition. So there's
The front
a small
window was pulled down?
There's like an al fresco bit.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
But
okay.
with the frontis piece of the shop open. And so people could smoke outside, but then as a result, all their smoke was then blowing into the restaurant.
Oh, no.
And being fairly,
do you know
fairly
what, Al?
unpleasant.
They sound like guitar players to me, those smokers.
Yeah, probably.
Well, as we left the restaurant, it then emerged, because he bid us farewell, that holding court at the most smoky of the smoking tables was the owner of the restaurant, who'd been directly contributing to the...
He's become your sort of arch
happiness.
nemesis, this man.
It was just one of those things, we'd passed it on the, and we thought, well, let's try it on the off chance. And
Did
then
you have a starter? Was it just the lasagna that was problematic?
the starter was acceptable. But I'm literally quoting from my TripAdvisor
Yes.
review. But
Did you use your own name on the TripAdvisor review?
No, I've used...
Is it something like Furious of Tunbridge Wells?
Because I used my eBay username as Functional Human, which,
Right.
which I've had compliments for on eBay.
I think I've complimented you for it in life.
Indeed. But I think I've masked
I think
my
we should.
identity.
We could do with a bit of deep googling. We can find this.
Yes.
I got my main 20 minutes before my wife did.
Oh,
You got your
that's
main.
annoying.
It was
Which
horse
is,
meat.
And but at the end of the day, I was still too polite to actually properly complain.
That is not good.
And I paid the tip. I paid the service
Did you
charge.
tip?
I'm a well, they'd automatically included the service charge, and it was just. But I felt like there's a bit in your stand-up where you've referred to the tax that life can sometimes levy on you.
Yeah,
and I felt
twit tax.
Indeed, does. I felt like that was one such moment. It was kind of, I'd been hubristic before life, and I'd had some lovely meals. So this
So
was,
what?
No.
So it was a very. What you did was get your revenge afterwards, and I like that in you. You didn't say it to their face, but you've besmirched their name on internet.
Yeah, and actually, this has been very therapeutic.
Glad to help.
Thanks, guys.
See, that's a bugbear of mine that the two meals came out at different times. I think that this is going to sound contrary, but the best bad meal you can get is where there's a massive delay on the food, the starters and the mains, and so you just drink loads and loads of wine before your meal arrives, and then you're drunk, so you don't realise how bad the meal is. That's the best.
That's
What was
Right,
it?
yeah.
Club 1830s
the best
over
worst
here.
case scenario, isn't it?
Dutch courage for
Yeah,
the
exactly.
fight
Can
ahead.
I-
mean, I've had that
I-
version of bad meals several times and quite enjoyed it, weirdly.
Can I wander perhaps into the arena of unwise honesty? I sometimes order food I don't like, because then I know I might eat a bit less.
This is
Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.
We're talking about disgusting meals on Absolute Radio this morning. It turns out Steve Hall had a mare last week with a rogue lasagna. Is that what it
well, and I
was?
think there was literally a mare in there. In the sense of a female horse.
They can't even justify it on grounds of cooking, though. Like, sometimes you can have, like, say, my carrots are a bit underdone, and they say, well, that's how you're meant to do carrots, really. Everybody else overcooks them. But you're meant to cook lasagna
I like my
properly.
carrots are a bit underdone. I must
what I
make a
mean?
note of learning that in at least 7 languages. I think that'd come in useful.
Or steak, you could sort of say, well, it's meant to be, twitching. But lasagna, nobody wants rare lasagna.
My brother-in-law once had a massive argument. They said there's a way of serving eggs where it's just they're cooked at 62 degrees, but it's meant to be done for ages, so that they're very delicate. And evidently, they just weren't cooked. So they clearly cooked them at 62 degrees for a small amount of time.
Right.
So technically, what they were stating on their menu was correct.
Awful.
But he was basically served raw eggs.
I think the worst meal I ever had, well, I've had 2 bad ones.
In your life?
Yeah, 2 really awful ones.
Oh, okay.
I had once, I was having dinner with the chairman of BP. I was a child. I was 9. And I'd been asked the day before, I think because I was a child, that the mother had rung ahead and had said, do you like liver? And I said, do you like larynx? No, I felt like saying that. It's an extraordinary question. I said, I love liver.
No, at 9 years old,
love
you
it.
pretended to like liver.
Yeah.
You faced it out, even at 9.
I didn't even know what liver was. I didn't know. I went, I love it, darling. I love it.
You know that thing, show me the boy at 7 and I'll show you the man? I'm now having that moment with the girl at 9.
And then, of course, the day came.
Oh.
The china came out, the crystal glasses. Had a little bit of water with wine. We used to do that. And I know it's frowned upon now. And as I had the liver, I thought I was going to cry. I went, oh, it stuck in my throat. I'd never had anything that disgusting.
Oh.
The woman remonstrated with me. She said, I thought you said you liked liver. I said it was a different liver. I actually said that, which I thought was quite a good comeback.
Not all livers are the same liver, are they?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a similar thing for the young Hannibal Lecter. First time he was served a human liver.
Yeah.
Didn't go down well at all.
And it fits in with the modern phrase, doesn't it? YOLO, you only live once.
No, oh, lovely work, Alan.
Thanks very much.
Have you had any horrible meals?
I think I've had several horrible meals, but I think I'd almost prefer good food with slightly bad service to amazing food with that cloying service where they really follow you about, is everything okay? You know, there's an Indian restaurant near me and they're so friendly that it slightly puts me off going.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't really have to go anymore because one of the staff's come home with us. He just follows us about, making sure we're fine. You know that thing where, is everything all right? I'd rather they just, when the food's great and they just chuck it at you, like, yeah, we know how good this is. Our food does the talking. I'd rather have that. I went in my cafe. There's a cafe around the corner from me the other day, and I went in at 3:30, and he went, oh, I've shut the kitchen. And I went, you're a cafe, don't you? You're aware of what it is that you do. And he'd sent all the staff home, so I had to have drinks. That's not good, is it?
No, I think that's absolutely appalling.
That's the worst of it. We had a text entitled Lies. This is what happens, isn't it? I thought I was discussing honesty and my honesty on...
And then you realised you were sharing a studio with me.
People have taken it and ran with it. Work colleague claimed to have a 20-piece drum kit in his conservatory at home. Had to go to his house one day and soon discovered he didn't even have a conservatory. Well done, Paul.
I like him. I like the sound of Paul.
Yeah.
Did we have a tweet as well?
We had a nice tweet from Amy, not on the subject of lies, but she's just said, loving the show today, making my economics revision much more bearable.
Oh, now we've read out praise. I didn't know it was that praiseworthy.
But
Can I just apologise?
It's also criticism, because
Yes.
Alan was...
I have
Alan
a theory
was
that you shouldn't really revise whilst listening to the radio, because voices distract you, whereas music that you know well, you can kind of concentrate on the work in hand. Not that I want to lose a listener.
Is that right?
I don't want the radar figures to plunge through the roof.
I'll stop listening to... I'll stop listening... Yeah, that's a curious metaphor you employed there. Plunge through the roof.
There's many reasons to not listen to this show, and one of them is your economics homework, and the other is my mixed metaphor.
So don't listen to music when you're trying to...
I do listen to music, I believe, but we'll probably have people... I'm a terrible
do you know what? I'm going to
example,
get out of here, and I'm going to put that thong song on again. I can't wait.
In fact, we did have an email. Hey Frank, DME and the Cockerel. long-time listener of the podcast, first-time writer. I'm currently revising for my higher exams whilst making my way through the pre-Alan Cochrane shows.
So hires, what are these, please?
They're sort of a bit lower than an A-level.
A-levels?
They're Scottish.
Okay.
I was wondering how well you guys did in your exams and if they are actually important from 133. I would say I did terribly, considering my
What did you get? Come on,
powering
let's
intelligence.
go round this damn room and find out. Alan Cochrane.
What, A to C passes at GCSE?
Just
I think
give us it all.
I think I got 4 or 3.
4 GCSEs?
Yeah.
Wowza!
When I say I did badly, I'm not
A-levels?
No, I did okay in A-level. I got
Grades?
3 or 4.
No, but what are the grades?
B and...
You're taking too long. Next.
Yeah.
Steve Hall.
Steve's an academic
this is
achiever,
going to be
don't worry about
slightly...
that.
Steve, I
crowing,
think Steve went to Oxford and Cambridge.
No, he did, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I call it, Oxford and Cambridge.
Good for you.
This is very arrogant. What this is? This is basically going to be me showing off on a low level. 'cause
Oh,
I
I'm sorry. Are you not meant to do that? You sound like it's a bad thing. That's what I do all the time. Okay, GCSEs, please.
8 A's and 1 C.
Ooh, what was the C in?
In biology, the only science I took, I couldn't stand it. Dr. Swan, you are a fool.
Okay.
My
A-levels?
teacher. A-levels, I got 2, A in history, A in Latin, a B in English, and a C in religious studies. And I also got an S level in English.
Steve.
Where I got a merit, which is like, you can get...
That's a cigarette, isn't it? Well done. And then you did Oxford and Cambridge.
Yeah, and we brush over that.
Oh, I'm so
That
impressed.
was fairly disastrous.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's satisfying. And can we ask this lady's question of what... Do you think they matter? Do you think they matter?
I like the fact that you have pointedly not asked me how I did, because you're worried I might have done a little bit too well, because why else would I have asked the question?
No, I don't mind how you
I
did.
didn't do that well, actually.
How did you do?
Well, not with Steve in the room. I sit somewhere between you two, between the two stools.
You do.
8 GCSEs, but one did include oral English. I'm not quite sure. I just had to say, hello, how are you? Very well, thank you, goodbye. Who does oral English? Nancy Delorio. It's extraordinary. And then my A-levels, 2 A's and a B. Stormed it.
Well, not really.
No, back in the day, that was good.
3 years.
Oh,
is
not
storming.
really, says GCSE woodwork failure.
I didn't get woodwork. I didn't
Not
even try.
really.
I mean, yeah.
You went to a nice drama school, though, didn't you?
Yeah, I was a bad student, though. I'm just not a very good scholar. I don't retain data. But I would say to...
Are you no good at data retention?
I'm no good at data retention. I would say to 133 that I don't think they matter that much. I still am of the opinion
People that do badly always say that.
If I meet a person, I'm more likely to judge their table manners than their GCSE results. That's my feeling on life.
I love that sentiment.
Frank Skinner.
On Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
Are we still in email corner?
We
are.
could sashay back there if we were.
Shall we shante back there?
We've had an email from Alison Moulds, who writes, hi Frank, Emily and Alan. And she puts in brackets for Alan, tickets still available at Hull.
Yes.
So she's plugging away for you there, Al.
And I like the fact that she's put, although I've seen you several times, someone's buying them. I like that. It's almost as if she's saying, just me then.
Fan stroke stalker.
She has been sat amongst other people, I should point out.
She says, listening to last week's Society membership stories, I was reminded of the time when I enrolled into the Star Trek fan club. I received a welcome pack including badges, etc., then a monthly magazine addressed to Ensign Moulds, much to my husband's chagrin and mock. I was in my 30s when I decided to join, but soon realised it may have been designed for a much younger ensemble. Shortly after, the magazine stopped publication, and so after 30 years waiting to join, I was dumped after 9 months. Maybe just as well.
Oh, Alison.
My heart goes out to her, but it has made me realise there's perhaps a gap in the market for an Alan Cochrane fan club with some small badges or... In fact, let's be honest, I've got free time during the week. I could do stuff for my fans.
Why don't you?
Like if you want me to research car insurance quotes for you, or
That'd be good.
This launches today, the Alun Cochrane. The Alco.
Yeah, this starts here and now.
Alco.
Can I just say, I like
might lead to some
ensign
problems.
moulds. I like that only the Star Trek fan club could misread a name like Alison as ensign, give it a sort of sci-fi spin. I got post attached once addressed to, instead of Emily Dean, how wrong can you go? You can't go at all wrong. You'd be incorrect, because they sent it to Emma Lee Dean. Emma Lee Dean.
Giving you an
Like, I'm
extra
some
name.
strange country and western singer. It's extraordinary.
I enjoyed your country and western albums.
There's
Did you?
is it Emmy the Great is Emma Lee Moss.
Is that
as in
right?
Emma-Lee, I think.
Oh, there you go.
good.
Thanks for that. Well, I knew Steve would know that. Do you know why? He went to Oxford and Cambridge.
Yeah, he did well. He studied hard. Hi, Frank and the gang. I've just been catching up on the shows that I've missed, and one of them you were talking about when and how often you should get suits cleaned. It got me thinking. I bought my first and still only suit when I was 15, and now I'm 31. The suit has seen 6 funerals, 10 weddings and countless interviews, and to this day it has never been washed or dry cleaned. I always just hang it up and Febreze it before putting it away for the next death/marriage. That suit must be minging.
But it's also,
Congratulations.
if he's had it
I
for
would like
16
to
years,
shake his hand, but I don't want to get that close.
Yeah, exactly.
That's going to be a mid-90s suit. So
Yeah.
it's going to look a little
Yes.
bit like what Liverpool wore to the 96 FA Cup final.
A bit Spice Boys. Do you
Yeah,
know
that's
what?
not appropriate for a funeral, is it?
That suit, that's seen more action than Hugo Chavez's red shirt. He never took that off either.
And
God
that's
rest his soul.
that's from Egon Belmonte. You know, a few weeks ago we were talking about people who used to be called, Peter from Peterborough. Or
Is he from
Lancaster.
Del Monte then?
It's the man from Belmonte, isn't it? It's obvious.
Egan Belmonte, it sounds a bit like a pseudonym. I think that's a bit made up.
It's a great made-up name if it's not.
Can I
a
say,
real
though,
name.
6 funerals, 10 weddings and countless job interviews, I think that's too much.
That was
Surely.
the original draft of that film, wasn't
Unless he's a hitman and the job interviews are directly related to the funerals.
Oh, well, boys, it's been so nice being with you today. I think that's kind of all we've got time for. The producer's waving things in front of my eyes, which look like it's time to wrap up. So thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. We've missed you, Frank, today, and we love you. And listen, I can't wait to hear all your stories about Pete Doherty and Macaulay, and I hope you had a great time. Be seeing you.
This is
Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.